I'd recommend this city to anyone. This has got such a funky vibe here. I always like to eat them. Yeah, really sweet like a lychee is. It doesn't taste like a lychee, but it's sweet in that same way. Who needs to go work out at a health club when you can do this all day? Down with the cherries. It's like the best food I've had since I've been in Colombia. And the freshest air. Oh, that's a good one right there. Ale!
For over 20 years, I've traveled the world searching for exceptional coffees. But among the greatest treasures I've discovered along the way are the incredible people, their fascinating cultures, and the most awe-inspiring landscapes you could possibly imagine. Now, I have the opportunity to show you a different side of the world through the lens of coffee. Bogota, the capital city of Colombia. Bogota is also the commercial capital of the country and the nucleus of its coffee business. Colombia is the third largest coffee producer, and you could argue that it has established more global recognition for its coffee than any other coffee-producing country in the world. In my experience, it's one of the most balanced and consistent coffees available on the market. My first order of business is to seek out what I consider a must-have when in Colombia, and that is a classic coffee from the country's hallmark brand.
When in Bogota, you have to stop at the Juan Valdez Cafe for the ultimate macchiato. It's definitely a taste of Colombia, this place.
Juan Valdez has been renowned since the 1950s when the National Federation of Coffee Growers used him as a character in their advertising. They wanted to put pure Colombian coffee on the map, and their campaigns have been hugely successful. The coffee business here faces many challenges, and the industry has had to adapt over time.
So these farmers have sort of a labor shortage. The only way that they can really afford to make harvesting coffee a better job is to create these custom-tailored coffees, much like a custom-tailored suit. If you can do a personally designed coffee, you can get a lot more money for it.
I'm here to seek out a classic old-world Colombian coffee and sort of reignite my love for coffee from this part of the world.
In many ways, coffee is all about relationships. So I'm actually here in Bogota to meet an old friend who's going to guide me through this whole process and introduce us to the farmers.
I'm going to meet Fernando, a coffee producer who owns a farm in an area of Colombia that has really piqued my interest. When in Bogota, I would highly recommend leaving some extra time for detours, as this city is rife with charming distractions.
You might recognize that guy. I'd recommend this city to anyone. This has got such a funky vibe here. It's a really, really exceptional way to experience Colombian culture.
The traffic is moving in all directions. In fact, the number of cars on the road here has doubled in the past decade.
So today in Bogota, if your license plate has an odd number, you can't even be on the road until like 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's just an example of one of the many laws they've created to control traffic, because this city is exploding.
Gem trading is iconic to Bogota, so a trip to the gem trading area is at the top of my list.
You know, in addition to coffee, a huge export here is emeralds, and this is actually an emerald market. The gentlemen you see standing around here are all emerald dealers, dealing in the pure stones. You can't sell fakes here. I've had a few stones offered that were $750 to $800 per stone. Beautiful.
I'm told that as much as 90% of the world's emeralds come from Colombia, and a really good trader can tell you exactly which mine an emerald came from just by looking at it. At over 10,000 feet, one thing you really can't miss out on in Bogota is Mount Montserrate. This mountain towers over the city center, and today, I'm heading up to the top to meet Fernando. Pilgrims have been coming to the top of this mountain since the early 1600s, and it's a tradition that continues today. Pilgrims prefer to climb to the top, but I'm going to conserve my energy by taking the tram. Fernando made a great suggestion to meet here. I am getting an unparalleled view of the city.
Hey, Fernando. How are you? How are you, man?
Nice to see you.
Wow, good to see you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you definitely pick a dramatic location for a meet for lunch.
I hope everybody's happy with it.
Oh, this is like really over the top.
Well,
Beautiful. I mean, you can see how huge the city is.
It is very nice here. It's one of my favorite spots.
Fernando used to be an emerald trader. Years ago, he switched to coffee after he bought a piece of land. He's positioned his business to produce the sort of old-world Colombian coffees that have become so much more difficult to find.
That original Colombian, that pure one, that is getting harder to find because they just taste hollow. They don't have that depth, you know?
I think you'll be surprised. On this trip, you'll be surprised at what you'll find.
Coming up, we have the best cup of coffee anyone has ever had on any airplane in the whole world.
Ah, qué bueno, ¿sí?
So we'll get there, then we'll go to the hotel.
The coffee I'm looking for is in a different part of the country, so it's time to trade the hustle and bustle of the capital for rural Colombia. We're taking the 45-minute flight to Armenia, a city 180 miles southwest of Bogota, and what's referred to as the Coffee Triangle. The Coffee Triangle is comprised of 3 different areas: Quindío, Caldas, and Risaralda. So here's a little travel tip for you. Airplane coffee is never good, even in Colombia, which is why I always bring my trusty in-flight survival kit.
You have to grind it for a little while, but you're on an airplane. You might as well burn some calories. It's going to smell really good. It's going to light up the whole airplane with smells. Smell.
Ah, qué bueno, ¿sí?
It's pretty tasty.
I bet you wish you were sitting next to me.
I know. I'd be there right now. On train states right now.
Oh.
Lo and behold, the coffee is so delicious that I'm able to trade a cup to a fellow passenger in exchange for a donut.
It's all about the relationships in Colombia.
So we're going to Fernando's farm, which is really high, extremely high up in the mountain, and he grows a lot of coffee there.
You won't get very far here without a good Jeep. These roads are steep and narrow with very few places to pass.
If you run into a car, you have to back all the way back down. Yeah, man, that'd be a lot of reversing right there.
A lot of reversing, yes. You better have good brakes.
Yeah. Like this guy right here, he's hauling a bunch of, it looks like he's hauling carrots.
Cilantro, that's cilantro.
We got lucky. We got an area where we can pass him.
We can pass him, yes.
The mudslides here can be brutal and the roads can stay closed for extended periods of time. In those instances, the people here have to go old school, bringing goods in and out via mule or donkey. Fernando's farm, Finca Carolina, is deep in the heart of coffee country in Colombia. In this valley, most of the farms are less than 5 acres, which is pretty much the norm in Colombia. And just like Finca Carolina, the livelihoods of the farmers depend on the harvest.
And the volcanoes on that side.
Over there.
At over 5,000 feet of elevation, the plants you see here are different varieties of Arabica, which, by the way, is the very first coffee species ever cultivated for quality consumption.
Like a happy dog.
Fernando is in the middle of the coffee harvest, and because of the terrain here, the best way to move the coffee around is actually on the backs of mules, which is exactly what one would expect to see in Colombian coffee country. By the way, just one of these bags makes roughly 550 cups of coffee.
Who needs to go work out at a health club when you can do this all day? This is a lot of work. I'm putting this bag of cherry on there. This particular bag is a small bag. This weighs about 24 kilos, which is 2.2 pounds in a kilo, so call it roughly 50 pounds.
They pour in the cherries that they pick.
At higher altitudes like this, the cherries take longer to ripen on the plant before being picked, making them much sweeter.
All right, here we go. Down with the cherries.
Nice and red.
Yeah.
It's important to process the cherries the same day they're picked because it would be a bummer to have any unpleasant tastes making their way into the final cup.
All right, so now we go pulp.
So this is the coffee after it's been washed a bit. It's been, the flesh has been ripped off, and it's ready to be essentially dried.
These coffees haven't been screened for size or sorted for defects in density yet. That all happens at the mill. First, they must ferment for a good 24 to 36 hours, and then they are dried. This coffee has a way to go before it's ready to be roasted and brewed, but thus far, all the fundamentals of a good cup are here. Some of my favorite moments in coffee country are sunsets like these. Total peace and serenity with the worries of the world thousands of miles away.
This is Colombia. I mean, one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And all of this is coffee and plantains in the Andes Mountains, and these sunsets are just deep and rich and filled with so much color. These are the moments that you carry with you for the rest of your life. This is Colombia. Coming up, the Willy's Jeep is the Jeep of the coffee farmer.
It just screams. It's beautiful.
And if my friends could only see me now.
Tonight, I get to try some other coffees grown in this area. I'm with a small international group of green coffee buyers and roasters at an evening cupping on a local farm.
So what we're doing is we call it fragrance or dry aroma, when you just smell the coffee. When you grind the coffee, there's all these gases that are released, so you're smelling those. But not everything gets released from just grinding it.
Once you add hot water, it releases new compounds and thus different scents. This is called the wet aroma.
Oh, that's a good one right there.
One of the things slurping does is agitate the coffee to release an even larger number of flavor and aroma compounds. Doing this gives you a more well-rounded sense for how good or bad a coffee is.
Like, not a fruity vibe, it's like an herbal vibe.
And then there's an aha moment, and one of these coffees stands out from the rest, and I'm inspired to visit the farm where it's grown. Salento is a really funky and authentic little town in the Andes that used to be a main route connecting popular coffee farming regions to Bogota. When the route got diverted, however, this little town didn't modernize, thereby maintaining its charming colonial architecture and distinctive, colorful buildings.
This is sort of the classic Colombian town.
Pretty much. This is
Very relaxed, huh?
relaxed.
Not like the city.
Not like the city. This is
It's a distinctly friendly community where everyone knows one another. And luckily for me, Fernando has a hookup for the exact vehicle we need to head to the farm that grows my favorite coffee from the cupping last night. And the choice mode of transport in this country might as well be the symbol on the Colombian flag.
This is like quintessential Colombia. If you were to drive in Colombia with any other vehicle, you wouldn't be in Colombia. The Willy's Jeep is the Jeep of the coffee farmer. They fill it with tons of coffee bags and luggage, and oftentimes they can fit like 23, 24 guys on these things. They'll stack them up on the sides. Sometimes they even lift up to the point where the front wheels are completely off the ground. This is so cool, being able to drive this thing. Buenos dias. Bien, bien. Soy Joey.
The Willy's Jeep has been around since the Second World War, and it appears the engineering hasn't changed much.
Listen to that baby roar. I'm so ready to rock.
Driving a Willy's Jeep in Colombia is about as genuine as an experience can get.
I have to tell you, if my friends could only see me now, driving this thing,
They'll want to come.
this is the best part of the trip right here. I believe we're gonna find some great coffee. I'm looking at these hills and I'm seeing all this sort of volcanic soil, and I'm seeing just so much rain and so much lush green. It just makes you realize the coffee has got to be really special in this area, more so than other areas.
I'm also picking up some of my new coffee friends from the cupping, as it wouldn't feel right to leave empty seats in the Willy's Jeep.
Hey! How are you guys? Oh, good to see you guys.
What's up, brother?
Excellent. Glad you guys could make it.
We're heading to Finca Ocaso, in the hills just above Salento. know you've acclimated a bit to the Colombian lifestyle when there's no reaction from anyone to a random horse in the middle of the road. This is definitely coffee country, and I bet we've passed at least 24 different coffee farms by the time we reach our destination at Finca Ocaso.
Ah, this is so worth the drive. Oh, buenos dias. Bienvenidos.
There are over 500,000 coffee farms in Colombia, and this one has been around for over 100 years. For the past 24, it's been owned by Gustavo Alberto Patino and his daughter, Carolina. In addition to growing the coffee, they also run coffee tours here. The views from the farmhouse are totally mesmerizing, and what better way to enjoy them than with a traditional Colombian lunch on the veranda.
This is pretty traditional Colombian cuisine.
Un pollo cocinado.
Carolina explains that everything we're eating, the chicken, the tomatoes, the corn, are all from the local area, and the plantains are grown here on the farm along with the coffee. There are around 12 hectares of coffee here, which converts to about 30 acres, and I'm hoping to understand what it is about the farm that makes the coffee so special.
We met so many different farmers and tried so much coffee. Some was good, some was okay, some was exceptional. One of our favorites was this particular farm. It's such a bonus because not only that, but they have the best food I've had since I've been in Colombia, and the freshest air, and it's ridiculously beautiful, and you just want to sit here and just listen to the river and the birds all day.
Rain can actually knock the cherries off the tree, so people in Colombia harvest regardless of the weather.
We harvest rain or shine.
To collect the cherries, we'll use these baskets tied around our waist.
Gracias, perfect. We want to learn more about their coffee and all the different varieties of Arabica that they're growing and kind of pick their brains a little bit about what they're doing. And the best way to do that is to harvest coffee with them because the coffee needs to be harvested.
Harvesting coffee can be tricky. The cherries are on a wide spectrum between green and red, which is one of the reasons it's a discerning process that has to be done by hand.
Really sweet like a lychee is. It doesn't taste like a lychee, but it's sweet in that same way.
Oftentimes in coffee country, the rain is intermittent, which is great for the coffee. Too much rain all at once is bad for soil erosion.
Coming up, it's like a nice rush of adrenaline. You're whipping through the jungle, crazy fast.
Now that we've picked some coffee cherries, it's time to use a classic methodology to remove the flesh from the bean.
This is the old school version, and you manually pump this. This is called a pulper. So she's pouring the cherries in, and you see what'll happen is the flesh comes out over here, and then you can see on the other side, the beans come out.
Of course, manually pulping is time consuming, and now it's almost always done by larger machines. Once the beans have been dried, they can be screened for size. Supremo beans are the largest and Excelso the next size down, and there are actually different sizes within the Excelso category depending on the country of export.
Yeah. It's a good way for people to learn how to roast because you just put the green coffee in the fry pan with no oil or anything. Just put it at medium heat and it'll start heating up and eventually starts cracking and smoking and starts to produce the oils from the inner part of the coffee. The rain is great for the coffee plant, so you can't really argue with the rain, and they're getting ready to hit the dry season soon.
The rain produces this really fresh, earthy smell, and that combined with roasted coffee, this is quite the place to be. Carolina is preparing a very special coffee for us.
They used to use socks, actually foot socks, to put the coffee in. And I've seen people that have actually, practiced that regularly. Here, it's a similar idea, but much better than a foot sock. But we're gonna pour the ground coffee into the filter.
Una, dos. Smells good.
We're off to a good start, and I think it's safe to say that this is about as classic of a Colombian coffee experience as you could possibly have.
Okay, cheers. But this really is really good, rich and smooth coffee. This is the kind of Colombian that people really, really love, and very rarely do they taste this kind of Colombian coffee.
Colombia was a really captivating experience for me. Much like reuniting with a long-lost friend, I've rediscovered an old favorite, the classic heirloom Colombian coffee. In addition to the delicious coffee and these verdant landscapes, the highlight of this trip has been the warmth, kindness, and generosity I encountered along the way. And now, I have one last thing on my to-do list to end this journey on a high note.
All right, ready? That was sweet. It's like a nice rush of adrenaline. You're whipping through the jungle. Crazy fast.
Colombian rainforests have some of the longest and fastest zip lines in the world. The platforms you climb up are all made out of bamboo grown in the surrounding area.
This bamboo is so strong you feel really safe even though you're 75 feet high, but these stairs, I feel like one of them, my foot is gonna go crashing through. You guys getting a little nervous down there? This one's gonna be pure speed. It's fantastic too because you go flying above all these coffee farms and tons of coffee plants and people harvesting coffee. Ale!
Zipping through the rainforest at 50 miles per hour is definitely not a bad way to say goodbye.